Our next speaker, Dana LaMon. The secret ingredient. The secret ingredient, Dana LaMon.
You may be endowed with great talent. You may endeavor to employ the principles of success. But unless you can envision a vivid self-image, you'll never experience dynamic living. Mr. Toastmaster, distinguished officers, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. In 1956, a young boy ran backwards across the sidewalk in front of his home. He tripped over his tricycle, fell on the back of his head, and split it open. His mother rushed him to the hospital where his wound was stitched up, and without further examination, they sent him home. It was his mother who discovered that her 4-year-old son had become blind. And when I did, I became a perfect candidate for the pigsty. I could have spent the next 35 years wallowing in pity. But I refused to be hogtied by adverse circumstances. I decided that for me, life would be dynamic. It would be full, vigorous, and enjoyable. To make it happen, I had to visualize a vivid image of myself. My conception of my identity had to be complete. My assessment of my abilities had to be realistic. And my view of my worth had to be positive. Let's pause a moment this morning for a bit of introspection as I discuss with you my secret ingredient to dynamic living, a vivid self-image. We'll begin with a multiple choice identity quiz. Are you thin, medium, pleasingly plump, or just plain fat? Do you have short hair, long hair, no hair, or someone else's hair? Are you lower class, middle class, upper class, or have you no class at all? Physical characteristics and socioeconomic status are but two ways by which others identify us. They look at the outward appearance. But your identity is not complete until you're also known by your inward characteristics, your thoughts and your feelings. These two make you the person that you are. So for a vivid self-image, you must first be certain that your identity is complete. Then make a realistic assessment of your abilities. In looking at myself, I've discovered that there is just one thing that I cannot do. I can't see. I am therefore precluded only from those activities which require sight, and for which no alternative can be found. I can, for example, make pizza by substituting the sense of touch for sight. I mow my own lawn, again by feeling and by listening to the sound of the blade as it cuts the grass. I even drive a car by using a keen sense of direction and a daring navigator. My only problem is that the state won't issue me a license. And I'm a good driver. But take my word for it, certainly don't ask my wife, because she'd probably tell you about the freezer. The one that was in the garage. The one that sacrificed itself to save the wall of the house. With the ability to do most of the things that I desire to do, I don't consider myself to be handicapped. And as you assess your abilities, keep this in mind. Whether or not you have a handicap depends on the circumstances in which you find yourself. I remember after the October 1987 earthquake in Los Angeles, my colleagues came up to me and told me that they looked all around for me. I suggested that in the future, you need not worry about me. I can take care of myself. They told me that they didn't care about me. They were looking for someone to lead them through the dark building. For a complete and realistic assessment of your ability, do these two things. Always begin with the assumption that it can be done, and never listen to the limitations that others would impose. Finally, for a vivid self-image, you must see your worth as positive. Eleanor Roosevelt put it this way: no one can make you inferior unless you let them. So don't let them. And don't be like Anton. Anton is my 3-year-old, and from time to time he walks around the house declaring, "I am nobody." Believe that you are valuable and important to the people around you. Maintain your focus on this positive worth, and your image will always remain vivid even when the circumstances are bleak. A complete identity, a realistic assessment of your abilities, and a positive view of your worth. These are the elements of a vivid self-image. And that image of yourself is that essential ingredient for dynamic living. And now that I've divulged my secret, let's go out and share it with hundreds of others. After all, what good is dynamic living if it's not to be shared? We can live it and share it. Share it with the old. It's not too late. Share it with the young. It's never too early. I've got a 7-pound, 4-ounce girl just born 5 days ago. I've got to make sure I share it with her before Anton does. Mr. Toastmaster.